may be quiet to human ears, but animals can perceive subsonic vibrations and heat noises in frequencies people cannot hear. The long-term effects from data center noise and light are undocumented, and there will be no way for us to stop them once they've started. And as of June 9th, more than 350,000 people, including country western star Brad Paisley, have signed on to the zoo's petition urging the community to oppose the data center project. The data center expansion is increasingly turning rural land near conservation and agricultural areas into industrial zones, posing risk to public health. Importantly, the proximity to data centers to green spaces degrades ecosystems by replacing vegetation with concrete surfaces, fragmenting habitats, and disrupting water flow, thus reducing their capacity to filter air, regulate temperature, and sustain biodiversity. Combined with their air, water, and noise pollution from data centers, this ecological degradation can weaken green spaces' protective functions and increase health risks in nearby communities. Increased tree cover has been shown to enhance natural air pollution absorption, reducing the incidence of respiratory illnesses like asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, and cardiovascular diseases. While community opposition to data centers frequently centers around water usage and electrical grid strain, concerns about noise, air, and water pollution reflect legitimate public health risks that demand policy attention. Shaoli Wren, an associate professor of electrical and computer engineering at the University of California, has called for health-informed AI that factors in health costs, not only carbon emissions, when deciding where a data center should be located. Right now, permitting decisions for data centers are being made without any clear accounting of their public health costs. And that gap means health damages are systematically left out of these very important decisions. Until these concerns are fully understood and addressed, the proliferation of data centers, specifically a data center on the Holder industrial site, must be stopped. Remember this, the long-term health effects of proximity to a data center have yet to be determined. This is where you come in. We need your help. We're a small group here, but we need you to go out into that community. We need you to talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, sign those petitions, attend those meetings, let people know in no uncertain terms your feelings on data centers. There are many reasons to not build a data center in Citrus County. Protect our aquifer, the strain on our electrical grid, the health concerns impact on animal habitats. There are better places to build a data center, just not here, not now, not ever. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you very much. And our last speaker, before we break for the workshop, for those of you who choose to stay, is Del Wray, and she's going to speak on lies and lawsuits. So Del, come on up.
To begin with, I'm not a data center expert or a legal authority. Individuals and communities are filing data center lawsuits against hyperscale computing facilities like data centers, server farms, and cryptocurrency mining operations. These cases claim noise pollution, increased risk of health problems, and reduced property values. Is this something that no data center Citrus would venture into? Absolutely. Is it something we must do? Absolutely. Would we need the help of every Citrus County resident? Absolutely. The saying goes, it takes a village to raise a child. Well, in Citrus County, it may take a lawsuit to save our community. Environmental safety is something most of us take for granted. We assume the water we drink is safe, the air we breathe is clean, and the food we eat is free of contaminants. But that's not always the case. For example, according to the Office of Disease Prevention and Health Promotion, preventable environmental factors lead to nearly a quarter of deaths worldwide and 26% of the deaths among children under the age of 5. As you've heard previously from John and Karen, the nonstop noise and vibrations generated by data centers can interfere with the ability to sleep, relax, indoors or outdoors. So data center lawsuits say the negative impact of these facilities can cause substantial annoyance and loss of comfort and enjoyment, lower property value, and increase the risk of health problems. According to Consumer Notice, a consumer advocacy organization, for example, a house 2 miles from an airport may sell for up to 20% less than other properties in the same zip code or an adjoining area. Near highways, it's about 11% lower. Noise generated by data centers could lead to a permanent home equity loss. So I'm going to let you listen to what it sounds like. They're saying that you can hear it up to 3 miles, at least 3 miles. Sometimes some people are hearing it 5 miles. My husband and I live 2 miles from the site, so that's where my passion in this fight comes from. For the Joint Legislative Audit and Review Commission in 2024, they stated, importantly, the proximity of data centers to green spaces degrade ecosystems by replacing vegetation with impervious surfaces, fragmenting habitats, and disrupting hydrology, thus reducing the capacity to filter air, regulate temperature, and sustain biodiversity. And moreover, residents have raised concerns about vehicle traffic from data center construction. So we held a corner rally just this past week, and I just want you to look and tell me if you think our infrastructure is ready for the traffic of a data center. This is 41 and 491, between 4 and 5 in the afternoon. People are trying to get to work, get home. This is ground zero. This is where the traffic is going to come from this build out. These poor people can't even get home on time. And you hear the honking, those are people that don't want the data center. So moreover, residents have raised concerns about vehicle traffic from data center construction, such as you watch on 41, 490, 491, and State Road 200, citing road damage, congestion, and blocked access for school buses and emergency vehicles. Citrus County residents who oppose this rezoning are not merely contesting a change in land use, they are engaging in a fundamental struggle for environmental quality, communal health, and personal liberty against what appears to be a coordinated effort by institutional and corporate interests. And the legal and civic options available to Citrus County residents are numerous. First and foremost, residents have the right to rigorous procedural and administrative challenges. In many jurisdictions, rezoning decisions are subject to public hearings and votes by county commissions or planning boards. Citizens can legally compel these bodies to adhere to strict procedural protocols, such as the proper filing of environmental impact statements, traffic studies, karst hazard assessment, independent Floridian aquifer impact, Duke Energy grid capacity assessment, just to name a few. The development of an industrial park often brings with it significant risks, including the combination of local water aquifers, increased air pollution, and the destruction of natural habitats. Residents can cite local comprehensive plans and land development codes that may mandate a concurrence requirement, meaning that infrastructure like roads, sewers, and schools must be adequate before new development is approved. As noted in various alternative platforms, the quality of the local environment directly impacts human health, and therefore, challenging the sufficiency of environmental reviews is a powerful legal strategy, potentially invoking state-level environmental protection acts if the county fails to properly disclose the full extent of industrial pollution risks or bypasses mandated public comment periods. These procedural errors can form the basis for a lawsuit to overturn the rezoning. Second, litigation based on public nuisance and property rights is a formidable tool. Residents have a legal standing to sue if the rezoning and subsequent industrial development result in a taking of their property value or degradation of their quality of life. This is not merely about financial loss. It concerns the fundamental right to enjoy one's own land without interference from excessive noise, toxic runoff, or hazardous air emissions. And legal arguments can be constructed around the concept that the government, by rezoning land for heavy industrial use, is violating the public trust doctrine, which holds that certain natural resources belong to the public and cannot be harmed for private profit. And furthermore, the right to self-defense extends beyond physical threats to include the defense of one's home environment against chemical and biological hazards. If the industrial park is set to house manufacturing processes that involve volatile chemicals or generate particulate matter, residents have a compelling case under common law for an injunction to halt the development. And according to Tsai et al. 2011, Lee et al. 2005, Salistopich et al. 2005, when diesel generators are in use, they can emit harmful pollutants like nitrogen dioxide, particulate matter, and carbon monoxide. Exposure to these pollutants has been associated with respiratory and cardiovascular disease and neurological problems, particularly among older adults and children. It's well documented in alternative research that industrial pollution is linked to respiratory diseases, neurological damage, and cancer clusters. Therefore, any rezoning that facilitates such hazards can be legally challenged as a direct threat to public health and safety, with citizens arguing that the county has failed in its due diligence and duty to protect us. If the county commissioners approve the rezoning, residents can appeal that decision to a state administrative law judge, arguing that the decision violates Florida's Growth Management Act, which seeks to curb urban sprawl and protect rural lands. And similarly, if the industrial park will impact wetlands or endangered species, citizens can file complaints with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers or the Environmental Protection Agency, citing the Clean Water Act or the Endangered Species Act. And while the EPA has been heavily compromised by corporate and political influence, the threat of a federal enforcement action could sometimes still stall development long enough for alternative solutions to emerge. And importantly, residents can also petition for a variance of the rezoning decision if they can demonstrate that the approval was based on false information, such as inflated economic projections or suppressed pollution data. And the use of the Freedom of Information Act requests to uncover communication between county officials and the developer can reveal conflicts of interest that validate the entire rezoning process. You all can go ahead and do FOIA requests. Please do under oath. We can't do all of this by ourselves. And finally, residents must engage in relentless public information campaigns. Residents can expose the health dangers of the industrial park, citing peer-reviewed science papers on the toxicity of industrial chemicals and their link to chronic disease, by distributing literature, holding community events, and creating videos that highlight the real-world consequences of similar industrial parks, such as increased cancer rates, water contamination, and property devaluation, citizens can build a powerful opposition that the Commission cannot ignore. This is a fundamental exercise of free speech, which is under constant attack from big tech and government censors. The goal is to make the cost of proceeding with a rezoning politically and legally untenable for the county commissioners. And last, the legal options for Citrus County residents are robust, but require a multifaceted strategy. They must simultaneously attack the rezoning through administrative appeals, environmental litigation, state law violations, public referendums, and community organizing. The key is to recognize that the system is not monolithic. It is riddled with procedural rules, property rights protections, and health statutes that can be exploited by a determined populace. Citizens should not be deceived into thinking that because a rezoning passes the first vote, the fight is over. We can continue to educate ourselves on the toxicology of industrial chemicals and the legal precedents that favor the sovereignty, and to prove that the health of the community and its children and its environment holds more legal and moral weight than any corporate financial statement. The battle over Holder Industrial Park is a microcosm of the larger war between globalist population interests and the right of human beings to live free, healthy, and sovereign lives. And for the reasons above, no data center Citrus is bringing information and awareness to residents, whether it's conducting street rallies, community presentations and workshops, speaking one-on-one with county commissioners, and encouraging residents to get out to county meetings. We all need to take part. Remember, it may take a lawsuit to save our community, and you're an integral part. Please help us save Citrus County. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. All right, hot.
Yeah, you heard those trucks. You heard it.
So that concludes the speaker portion of our presentation for today. What we'll do next is we'll take a 10-minute break. And for those of you who would like to stay, we're going to do an exercise led by Cheryl, who will help us write 3-minute statements that we can deliver to the Planning Development Commission or the Board of Commissioners. So that, we're at 3:16 now, so at 3:25 we'll reconvene and Cheryl will lead that portion of the workshop.